If I create the object of a thread, that I will call it as a newborn thread. Two possibilities are there. If I call the method that is stop, so directly it will go to the dead state. If they call the method that is start, it will go to the runnable state. And stop in the sense, I'm asking the thread to go to the dead state. Hello everyone, I welcome all of you to the yet another interesting session with respect to the multi-threaded programming. So guys, please remember what is that I have in my previous session. Yes, in the last session, I have introduced all of you to the concept of threads. Yes. So please don't forget to go back and watch if you have not watched. If you watched my previous session, you will understand what exactly threads is all about and how do we create the threads. What are the different methods which involves with the threads is what I have discussed in detail in my previous session. So guys, this session is going to be very important with respect to your exam point of view. So how exactly it is, sir? Then what are you discussing? Yes. For that question, I have the answer here. So please check out. So I will be discussing a very important topic, that is life cycles of a thread. So guys, this topic is going to be very easy and very simple. If you spend your time 5 minutes with me, I'll make sure that you will be able to understand this concept very easily. So that's what I would like to promise all of you. So don't miss or don't skip the video, watch till the end, and don't forget to click on the like button if you enjoy or if you get some content from this video. Yes, guys, along with the life cycle of threads, I will also discuss the using thread methods. Some of the methods which is related to the threads is also I will be discussing with all of you in this video. Yes. Before I start this concept for all of you guys, so if you look at this points, whatever I have listed, so you should be able to recollect some of the points which you have studied in the concept of operating system. Yes, what is that, sir? We had some concept called process life cycle. So do you all remember that? Yes, some of you and some of you not. Guys, even in the process life cycle, so guys, we had the same concepts, so same states. All right. So if you remember that topic, this topic will be very easy for all of you is what I would like to tell you at this time. Yes. What is that I have in this topic? Life cycle of a thread. So let's understand that. So how exactly we are creating this thread and how exactly it is coming to an end. So between this start and stop. So that is the initial state of the thread and the last state of the thread. So in between this, so how many different states that the thread is coming across. So that's what you need to understand with the concept of life cycle of thread. So let's start that. The first state that I have is newborn state, and the second state that I have is runnable, and the third one that I have is running state, and the fourth one that I have is block state, the last state that is dead state. So guys, what exactly this newborn state, what is this runnable state, running state, block state, dead state? Yes, I will be discussing this in detail one by one with the help of the diagram. Yes, let's check out that. Guys, in this diagram, before I start this explanation, so please remember this diagram is very important. So make sure that you will write this diagram first before you start answering this question. Then you start explaining each step or each state individually one by one. All right. So let's start. So the first state that I have is newborn state. So guys, this is what I will call it as a new thread. So whenever I create any new thread, so that new thread will be in the first state, that is newborn state. That's what you need to understand. Sir, what exactly this newborn thread is all about? If I create the object of a thread, that I will call it as a newborn thread. So that's what you need to understand. So fine, it is a fresh thread, a new thread is what you need to understand. So fine, suppose for that newly created thread, if I call the method that is stop, directly from the newly born state, it can go to the dead state. So that's the end of that particular thread. That's what you need to understand. That is the situation number one. If I call or if I use another method, that is start method, another method that is start method. It means to say that you are activating the thread and it is moving to the next state. So that's what you need to understand. So fine. So it is coming to the activate state. All right. So in this activation part, so I will have two states. That's what you need to understand clearly. Suppose if the thread is in the activation state, all right, so there is nothing called activation state. I'm just giving you an idea, all right. So if the thread is active, so the second state, it moves to the second state, that is running state. What exactly is this running state? I have freshly created the thread, yes or no? Yes. Now, what is the job of thread? I need to execute some job, right? So yes or no, I need to execute some job. So for that, I need to assign the job to the thread. Yes. So that is what is happening in the running state. What happens in the running state? So I have the thread, so which is newly created in the first state. When it comes to the second state, that is running state, a job will be assigned so to the thread. That's what is happening in the running state. So fine, a job is assigned to the thread now. So now what next? Now from this state, okay, from this state, it will go to the next state, that is runnable state. What happens in the runnable state? Now the thread has got the job. The thread should execute that job. So how exactly the thread is executing the job? With the help of the processor. So that's what you need to remember. With the help of the processor, that is CPU. So without processor, the thread cannot execute that job. That's a very important point that you need to remember. So if I want to get the processor, so that's a big task because I have to be in a queue. The thread has to be in a queue. A lot of threads are waiting for the processor. That's what you need to remember. So fine. Finally, imagine the thread got the processor and it is going inside the runnable state. That is the next state. So in the runnable state, the thread will get the processor. So it has started its execution. It is executing. So God grace, it does not require any input-output operation. It completes its execution. Let's imagine like that. So it does not require any input-output operation. The complete task is done. The processor will complete the execution and it will call the method called stop and it will move to the next state, that is dead state. Then it will kill the thread, is what you need to understand. Suppose, remember I have a clause here. Suppose when the processor is executing that thread job, so it requires or it demands some input-output operation to complete that job. What happens then? So it will suspend, or it can sleep, or it can wait. It can move to any of this state and it will send it to the block state. That thread will come back to the block state from the runnable state. Why it will come to the block state? Because it requires some input-output operation. Once it is done, so from the block state, it will resume back. It will go back to the running state. All right. It will go back to the running state and it is again waiting for the processor in the queue. So once it gets the processor, so it will go to the runnable state. It will execute. It will finish off its job and then it will move back to the dead state. This is how the life cycle of the threads is happening. So guys, this is what I have explained in the next slides about each and every stage in detail. Let's take a quick look. As I told you, so you have newly born state. So that is the first state. They call it as a newborn state. From this state, two possibilities are there. If I call the method that is stop, so directly it will go to the dead state. If they call the method that is start, it will go to the runnable state. That's what you need to remember. And how do I create the thread? With the help of the thread class, I will be creating the object for that class, is what you need to remember. That's how I create the thread, is what you need to understand. So fine, this is about the newborn state. So moving forward, I have the runnable state. I have already told you runnable state in the sense, guys, the runnable state is a state. The thread is ready for the execution and it is waiting for the availability of processor. So that's what you need to understand. The job is getting assigned in this state and it is just waiting for the processor, because without processor, I will not be able to execute that thread. So that's what you need to remember. So guys, you need to understand one more thing, and this thread is in the queue because a lot of threads are waiting for the processor time. So that's what you need to understand. Please don't forget that. So you will have a queue. So that's what you need to understand. So guys, this is about the second state that I have. moving forward to the next one, that is running state. So please understand. So running state means the processor has given the time to the thread that I have already explained this. So the running means, so please understand, processor has given its time to the thread for its execution. So that's what you need to understand. And threads runs until it surrenders the control on its own, or it prevented by the higher priority threads. So till when it will be executing? So once it is done, so till it completes its job, so it will be executing. Or suppose if any other thread has got the highest priority at that particular point of time, I might call, so please observe, I might call any one of this function. Sir, what is this function? Say for example, I am executing some thread. So some of the thread is coming which has got the highest priority. Then what should I do? I should stop that particular thread. So with the help of suspend, sleep, or wait, I will call any of this function, and then the thread which was being executed in the runnable will move to the block state. This also can be possible, is what you need to remember at this point of time. So please remember that. So guys, by saying this, this completes the life cycle of thread. So I think I've already discussed about the block state. So what exactly, and the dead state in the sense you are killing the thread whatever you have created. So that's the end of the thread, is what you need to remember. So guys, by this we are discussing the last points of this session. So that is yield, sleep, and stop. So which I have already discussed this too. So yield in the sense which moves the thread from the running to runnable. So that's what you need to understand. And the next one is sleep and stop. So sleep in the sense you will be asking the thread to go for a suspension for a particular period of time. So you're making the thread inactive for a particular period of time, is what you need to understand with respect to the sleep. I'm asking the thread to sleep for a while. So it should take a nap for a while. So until some particular period of time, that's what you need to remember. And stop in the sense, I'm asking the thread to go to the dead state. So that's what you need to remember with respect to the methods that I have here. So guys, by this, I have come to an end of this session. So hope you understood the life cycle of a thread in detail. So I will be coming to all of you in the next session, in which I will be discussing some more important concepts with respect to the threads. By saying this, thank you. Bye-bye.